And now back to our main topic today, the Ukraine peace talks underway in Abu Dhabi. This is the first trilateral between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States since the full-scale invasion. Joining me now to discuss is David DeBatto, geopolitical analyst and former U.S. Army counterintelligence officer. Hello, David, and thank you so much for joining us on World News Tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Now, this just came in just a minute ago. As for the substance of the negotiations, still too early to draw conclusions today. We will see how the discussions proceed tomorrow and what results they bring. That's what, according to President Zelensky. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Ukraine did not get a signature on security guarantees or the $800 billion prosperity package in Davos. Why do you think that is?
There's a conflict going on right now between the Trump administration, meaning Trump himself, the White House, the Pentagon, and the U.S. Congress. As an example, the U.S. Congress, both the lower house of representatives and the Senate, just passed or almost passed the latest defense budget, which is a big deal. It's almost $1 trillion. However, the Congress had to fight with the White House to keep in a provision which would give, I believe it was $600 or $800 million to Ukraine that the White House and the Pentagon wanted pulled out of the latest budget. That's just an example of the tug of war going on between the executive branch, the administration, and the U.S. Congress. There's really some conflict there. And right now, as of today, it seems that the Congress is winning, at least temporarily, on support and aid to Ukraine.
Right. We heard that this might be signed soon. Do you think that still may be the case?
If I had to guess, which I hate to do, I would say no. Look, the U.S., meaning under the Trump administration, has been very, very hesitant to sign any concrete security guarantees for Ukraine. That's a tragedy, and it's one of the main holdups that has been going on for the last several months. Ukraine hopefully does not settle for anything but ironclad signed security guarantees by the West. Although, based on what's been said recently over the last several days and weeks by the American administration, even a guarantee, even a signed guarantee, doesn't seem to be enough of an ironclad commitment to back up any ally, whether it's Ukraine or NATO. So whether that is a guarantee that they're going to sign, that the negotiations are going to bear fruit right now, like everything else in the Trump administration, I just really don't know as of right now.
Well, do you think that the security guarantees may be contingent on the Donbass being resolved between Ukraine and Russia?
Well, absolutely. I mean, two of the main things, for at least for Ukraine, is the ceding, the giving up of territory, which is against their constitution, and ironclad security guarantees, which they've allegedly been given in the past, such as the Budapest Agreement, which obviously didn't mean anything, even though it was signed by the various nations, including Russia. So yes, whatever happens with the Donbass, whatever happens on the ground in Donbass, meaning the military situation, is crucially important. And look, I want to tell your listeners right now, despite what is usually portrayed in a lot of the Western press, the Russian army is not doing well. They are not succeeding in defeating the Ukrainian military, and they're doing it with the Ukrainians having the bare minimum of ammunition, weapons, drones, artillery, and so forth. So no, the Ukrainians don't want to give up anything, and they don't want to stop the fight, and certainly don't want to sign away territory that Russia still doesn't even control.
There's also speculation that in the UAE, this is the issue. We've heard some estimates say that 90% of everything is pretty much agreed upon. It's just that issue of the Donbass. Do you think that that's really true, or do you think there are some other sticking points that's not maybe being discussed publicly?
No, I think that's probably the primary reason. Like I said, this is in the Ukrainian constitution. They don't want, nor should they give up any land at all, and certainly no territory that the Russians don't even control. That's the primary reason. But as I said, also security guarantees. As well as financial, but security being the primary one. If they can't get guarantees that they don't have to give up territory in the Donbass or anywhere else in eastern Ukraine that Russia doesn't even control, and that they're going to get at least allegedly security guarantees that they agree upon, whether that's boots on the ground, advisors, equipment, weapons, and so forth, they're probably not going to sign. And to answer your question, would this Donbass, the territorial issues, be a showstopper? It could be, yes.
Okay, so in your opinion, since the security guarantees haven't been resolved, then the talks basically in the UAE are doomed to failure.
Well, look at it. None of the talks so far have panned out. I've said it many, many times before that Gerard Kushner and Steve Witkoff are not the best negotiators to have there. If anything, they side with Russia, with the Kremlin. To have the Americans, the American negotiating team actually be siding with Russia in negotiations with Ukraine is absurd. Not to mention they don't have a military background or an intelligence background. They're both real estate folks. So that's how they look at things, just as Donald Trump does, from a transactional basis. What are they going to get out of it? In this case, of course, what is America going to get out of it? So again, to try to answer your question, if I had to guess, I would say there's a very good chance that these negotiations are, in fact, doomed to failure. And this is going to go on and on for an unknown amount of time in the next few months.
Do you think the UAE is the proper venue for these discussions? We've heard the Turkish president say that Turkey could participate and facilitate such discussions. We know the relationships that Turkey has with both Ukraine and Russia. Would that make the U.S. role a little bit more less significant, and therefore that's not being considered? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know if it's not being considered, but you're hinting that, in fact, the Americans wanted this to be in the UAE. They do. They are courting the Gulf states very, very hard right now. Look, Qatar is giving Donald Trump a new Air Force One. I think it's I don't know. It's expensive. Many, many hundreds of billions of dollars they're giving him. The UAE is becoming very friendly to the Trump administration. So it's in their interest, meaning the Americans' interest, to have these negotiations in a very friendly, in quotes, neutral territory. Whereas, as you said, Ukraine is much closer, both physically and diplomatically, to Turkey, which has offered many, many times to host negotiations. I think it's kind of crazy that they don't, but I believe that the Americans are probably strong-arming the Ukrainians to have this in a Gulf state, in this case, the UAE. Again, I don't think we're going to see a resolution in these negotiations, and that this is going to have to be revisited again in the next weeks and months to come.
Well, we both hate to speculate, but David DeBatto, I thank you for that discussion and spot-on geopolitical analysis. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
And that concludes this edition of World News Tonight. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time. Good night.